Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, or you find a way to lose. And finally, let me tell you what. I had initially anticipated, first of all, how you doing? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I had initially anticipated 2023 to be one of the worst years for boxing because you could see that the money just wasn't there to make the fights we wanted. But fortunately for us, Saudi Arabia has come through, and they're putting up money left and right. Now, I'm going to tell y'all right now, when it comes to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, yeah, it's an old school fight. I think it's going to end in a KO. It could end up going the distance because both of these guys are experienced fighters. They know how to survive, and both of them could see themselves getting to the finish line, and we could have a decision victory for one of the fighters. But that being said, I really feel it's going to end in a KO. But when it comes to the money, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, y'all can't tell me, and I wish the reporter would have asked him, hey, Crawford, you were saying there was just $25 million or so on the table for you and Spence last year. Were those investors involved in putting up the money for this fight? See, nobody's asking that question. But I'm telling you right now, I think so. But, hey, I could be wrong, right? Maybe they're counting on Spence and Crawford doing 2 million pay-per-view buys. And it just may. It just may. Because when you have MMA fighters choosing to watch a boxing match over an MMA fight, then you're onto something. That's like making a fighter who doesn't go back, making him go backwards. That means his ass is in trouble. So that's a good thing for Crawford and Spence. But I tell you what, there'll be greatness July 29th. And we're all going to witness it. Okay? You know, Crawford, if you've been sleeping underneath a rock, look, they got the WBO title. And Errol Spence has a WBC, WBA, and the IBF. I kind of still wish Thurman was in the mix somehow, but it is what it is. We're going to see. These guys, all you kept hearing during the press conference today is measuring greatness by eras. And you had this person's era, that person's era, Ali, Hagler, Hearns, and Mayweather, Leonard. But Crawford is adamant that he's going to prove that this is his era. Errol Spence is adamant that he is basically going to break Crawford, break his will, and make him quit. And Crawford's saying that he's going to suffocate Errol Spence by saying that's what happens when you get a fish out the water. Now I'm going to tell you this, right? Spence is naturally a bit more laid back. And I think he was a little more easygoing during the press conference myself. I was kind of surprised, but he did flare up a little bit. And talk about Terence Crawford and saying how, look, he hasn't really fought anybody, and saying Top Rank is really good at matchmaking, which they are. And he had challenged Crawford as far as how Crawford and his welterweight dominance. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Errol Spence, although he and Crawford did kind of jaw at each other a little bit, it's absolutely clear that Errol Spence feels that right now he's the pound-for-pound best in all of boxing, and he feels that he's going to beat Crawford. And no matter what happens, he says the winner of this fight should be seen as the best fighter in boxing, period. It's not even just about being the best welterweight in the world. It's about the best boxer, period. Now, I'll tell you this. Spence's mentality is to win, to go all out, all gas, no brakes. Terence Crawford's mentality is that too, but he goes about it a little differently. And that's what's going to make it very interesting. That's why you say Spence is out here saying they're going to be smoking bud. It's going to be a crawfish bowl. Crawford saying that, they're going to have a fish fry. Everybody going to get to eat fish sandwiches, fish fillets. And that was interesting. But, hey, bottom line, fans have been waiting for a long time for these guys to get in the ring. And it's happening. And you can see people are just out here. They don't know what to do with themselves, man. You get two guys undefeated, and at the same time, although they're talking a lot of trash about each other, you can see that there's some genuine respect there. And they're very respectful towards each other as far as what they bring to the table, because they know it's a legendary fight. This fight here is going to be taking place July 29th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I'm trying to figure out right now, whether I should get myself some tickets and go check it out, because to be honest with you, for our era, it just doesn't get any bigger than this as far as the participants in a boxing match. I mean, the last time we had something probably this magnitude that didn't happen was Wilder and AJ. Just being honest, for an undisputed distinction. Jamel and Castaño and all the other undisputed fights that have happened are cool, but the one that kind of got us our mouth salivating was Wilder and AJ, and they dropped the ball. And then before that was Pacquiao and Mayweather, and that happened a little bit later than what it should have. But at the end of the day, what we have here with this news conference that just kicked off, let me tell you, man, this fight could definitely define both of these guys' careers, and this could be, like they said, the fight that we talk about is going to be talked about 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now, when it comes to Crawford and Spence and who's pound for pound, look, it's real subjective, but most outlets have Crawford and have had him for the longest ranked as number one. Okay? Like, that's not me making that up. I mean, for the longest, Crawford, in the majority of these pound-for-pound rankings, which, some people don't know what criteria they use to come up with it, but Crawford's been ranked number one. But it's interesting to see with the odds makers that Crawford and Spence, didn't take offense to it. But, Crawford is, a slight favorite going into the fight. But I tell you what, Spence really believes that it's not just about the training, conditioning. He knows they're both special fighters. He just really keeps echoing that, look, resumes matter, and he feels his resume is just a lot better. And he's talked about Kell Brook, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Yordenis Ugas. They even argued about Sean Porter, Kell Brook, and when they got to those fights and what those fighters still had left in them. And basically Spence saying, Crawford got a Porter that was, half-heartedly committed to fighting and got a broken and damaged Kell Brook, and just trying to discredit him. And then even the Hamburglar, Errol Spence's trainer, Derek James, chiming in saying if Crawford was to beat Spence, he wouldn't be the first two-time four-belt era undisputed champion in two different weight divisions, because he's saying Teofimo Lopez did that, which a lot of people don't agree with that. But you can see it's a little bit of back and forth going on between them, and they're trying to basically discredit Terence Crawford. But I'm going to tell you what, Crawford, and just to be real, Brook, Porter, but people don't give him credit for Jeff Horn. People don't give him credit for fighting Gamboa back in the day. People don't give him credit for Khan. They don't give him credit for Benavidez. They don't give him credit for Hank Lundy. They just don't give Crawford credit for a lot of fights. But I tell you what, we're going to see. Even that Mean Machine, I don't see how you can not give him credit for Mean Machine. But we're going to see exactly if Crawford has just been kind of, stars have just been lining up for him. And he's just been fortunate with the top-rate matchmaking and the fact that he's been fighting guys that were, a very low threat to him. Or we're going to see if, hey, it's not his fault. He made guys look less than average, and he's going to, touch up Errol Spence and make him look the same. And even he said, hey, after this fight, people are going to say that Bud Crawford's special. And he said, I can assure you of that. And he says, if Errol Spence doesn't respect me, he'll give me respect after I whoop his butt. And Errol Spence definitely said he already respects him, so it's going to be a one-sided butt whipping. And they both laughed, and they just said basically, the fans are going to emerge as winners. But I'm telling y'all right now, you already know. When Errol Spence says, the one thing out of what both of these guys have said, the one thing that has stuck with me is Errol Spence said, everybody knows with me, once I get in that ring, I'm stepping. And that has just stuck with me. And I see that as a good thing for Terence Crawford. For Errol Spence. He's going to push, and he's going to push hard. But I see that as a bad thing for Errol Spence because the harder he pushes, the harder Terence Crawford is going to push. And Terence Crawford has even said that. But at the end of the day, both of these guys, like they said, have big hearts, and they like to fight. That's going to make for a great action-packed fight. And I'm telling you, when it comes to boxing, it's going to be a great night of boxing. And I just don't see how anyone could see it any differently, because that press conference for me added a little more spice to the bout, and I think they needed that for their build-up. Not saying they're going to struggle with getting anyone to buy in the pay-per-view. Was $85. People are already complaining about that. I saw somebody in a post about how some people spend $10, $15 on some of these different websites to just, OnlyFans and stuff, and how they waste their money. But when it comes to a sport that they love, they're complaining about paying $85. I'm going to tell you, I got ways of watching a fight. I don't always pay for all the fights. But there was a time, up until like 2 years ago, I paid for almost all those fights. And I think everybody, if it's something you like, you should pay for it. And that was my thing. And that's how I used to justify it. I'm not buying airline tickets and flying to Vegas, I'm going to just sit there and watch it at the house. And that's what we used to do. But when it comes to some of these heated talking points with Crawford and, what he promised to do and becoming, securing the undisputed title in 2 weight classes and everything else, man, that these guys are looking to do, I'm telling y'all right now, it is going to be very, very interesting, man, because these characterizations of the Crawford and the fishbowl and Errol Spence and the fish fry and all that, who's going to get hurt, who's going to feed everybody, who's going to get smoked, it's hilarious, man. But it's got people talking. And to be honest with you, I've never bought any merchandise when it comes to these boxers, but I'm going to buy a couple of the T-shirts. One from Spence and one from Crawford, because I'm just a fan of boxing. But that being said, as this fight gets closer, I think it's going to become more vicious. I think they're both going to become more mean, and I think they're going to have to be separated. Because you can see Errol Spence sitting there quietly, but when he chirped up during that conference, he got pretty vocal. So you could see that, Errol Spence can be very confrontational and combative. And we already know Terence Crawford is mean as hell. But Terence Crawford grinning from ear to ear. He's talking about he's getting out of his comfort zone. He's getting older, wiser, trying to be more marketable. I'm going to tell you what happened with Terence Crawford. I should save it for another video. Terence Crawford happy because Terence Crawford making 8 figures guaranteed. And I think that 8 figures is around the $25 million price point. And I think for Errol Spence, he's making that or more. People talking about Crawford can't believe he allowed Errol Spence to be the A side. There's no other side for Crawford to be on. He's got to take the B side. He don't have all them damn belts. And it is what it is. Okay? It is what it is. I don't know what the split is, but I'll tell you this. To me, he should be the B side. And I'll also tell you this. How can you complain about being the B side when, and I don't know this, but I believe it, when you're making $20-25 million guaranteed? He don't give a shit. He was cool just getting $20 million flat rate. Now he's going to get $20-25 million plus. Those pay-per-view numbers are going to do pretty good. At $85, man, you may see these boys walk away, man. You may see them both walk away with $100 million, $80 million, $150 million each. You may see these guys, and if they fight 2-3 times, man, get out of here, man. But that being said, if it ends in a KO, it's going to be a rematch. And that means that somebody is going to have the edge mentally, knowing that they KO'd their opponent and put him, or at least put him down. That's going to get them confidence, knowing that I can hurt him, I can put him down. And that could affect the second fight. But they're taking it one at a time. Nobody's talking about a sequel. Nobody's talking about a trilogy. At least not to the cameras. But I'm telling you, when they're at home with their friends, away from the cameras, they're doing the tabulations. They know what kind of money is there. Do 3 fights and be done with boxing. These guys can easily make 100 or 200 million each over 3 fights. But there could be some damage taken too. But if they get that second fight out there in the desert, oh, Lord have mercy, man. They can really make some real money. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. I think the first fight is going to end in a knockout. I think the second fight could end in a knockout, and if they have a third fight, depending on if it's necessary, that could be a very action-packed fight too. You may get a Gotti Ward type fight, because these guys aren't necessarily rock'em sock'em robots, just coming in there looking for a mashup crasher, but they're definitely not coming into the ring to tickle each other. So that being said, y'all keep cool, more to come. I think we got us an old school fight here. And I don't think it's Hearns Leonard. That's not what this is. This is more like a Hagler Hearns type fight. And Hagler would be Errol Spence. Hearns would be more Terence Crawford. Or Crawford would be more like a Hearns or a Leonard. But Hagler is definitely more Errol Spence. Errol Spence ain't no damn Sugar Ray Leonard or Hearns. He's more of a Hagler. And not just because he's left-handed, just his whole style of fighting. But anyway, y'all leave your comments below. Keep cool, eat something good, and just be glad we got the fight. And hopefully nothing happens to push the fight date back. We don't need a Inoue, Fulton situation going on. We need the fight to happen when it's scheduled. Keep cool. I'm in the breeze.